screen. Okay. There it goes. All right. I can click through buttons. How you folks doing today? Oh, Wednesday. Oh, we're getting there. Our way through. Get the right class here. And take a quick look. A couple of things for. If our PDF will load. There it goes. All right, so we're finishing up strings. We're going to talk about project 1 and then get to project 2. So we're almost done with strings, which is good. Won't take too much longer to wrap that up here. I think we left off just the last split and join here, which is a little bit weird. So we'll take a little bit of time on that, but it's not too bad. So we'll work on those. And then I want to go over the project. Start with that one. You can start there. So project 1. Go and start a new project for that. Project 1. Our little text-based adventure game, and game is a bit of a stretch here, but that's okay. It's what it is. It's our, styled after Zork, but not as good, obviously, because we've only been coding for a couple weeks here. So, again, that's all right. So we're going to have actions and navigations that the players can do, and a help that tells them all of the things except the secret escape word. They essentially get stuck in the game until they enter the secret escape word. Right? And we don't have to even tell them what it is. They just have to magically guess. Or like solving some of these puzzles in games like Zork, where I don't know how people actually solved it before the internet. We could just go Google and get a walkthrough, because that stuff was hard. But that's what it is. So one of our actions would wound the player. And if the player is too wounded, I mean, they're wounded, they have to sleep. So the only thing you can do if you're wounded is sleep. After you sleep, you're no longer wounded. So got some options for how we want to tackle that. I've got an easy approach and the slightly harder approach. As long as it gets the job done, you're okay. The command always gives you the same response. So like, go north towards the forest. Go north towards the forest. Go north. You never get to the forest, right? You're always going north towards it. It's because we're not tracking their position along there. We don't know any of that. 4 actions, 4 navigations, the help and secret escape word. If we don't know what the command is, just give them help. Right? So I don't know what you want me to do. Here's the things you can do. And then we're counting the number of turns that they're in the game for. Help doesn't count as a turn because they didn't actually do anything. And we'll display that number when the game ends. Bless you. Okay? And then we get our points for actions, points for navigation, points for wounding, tracking our valid moves, and displaying help if it wasn't recognized. Okay, so that's kind of the breakdown for points here. So we got a new project here. Okay, so all of this happens until they give me the secret escape word. Right, and we're going to count some number of turns. We'll have a number of turns spent. Starts off at 0 maybe, or maybe 1, however you wanted to count that here. And then we'll get the secret word, right? So I'm going to say command is just blank to start, and I can say, while command does not equal, what should our secret escape word be? Exit. All right. Well, command is not exit. Let's keep on going. So we can say, what do you want to do? Right. So command will equal an input of what do you want to do? Right. Ask them. And then we can check. We can say, hey, if the command is, oh my goodness, command is go north, then we do the north thing. Else if the command is go east, we do the east thing. Right. Otherwise, if it is go south, we do the south thing. If it is go west, we do the west thing. What actions we let them do? So those are navigations. We'll come back to those in a second. All right, I guess we can just print you go north. Print you go east. This game is going to be more terrible than usual, but that's okay. You go south. If it was west, print you go west. Sure. Else if the command is what? What 4 actions could we have them do? Jump. Okay, jump. Does jump hurt the player? Do they land wrong? Or does a different command hurt them? Okay, jump. You can jump safely, which as you get older, it's harder to jump safely. I found out. Go figure. All right, so we can jump. What else can we do? Run. Sure, run. Oh, I'm running the marathon on Sunday. Wish me luck. Monday will be a little rough getting up the stairs here, but we'll figure it out. My house has too many stairs because my bedroom's on the 2nd floor. Like going up and down on Sunday is just awful. It's awful. But I signed up for it because it's fun. Anyway, so run. So you run. You run. Sure. Does running wound you? Usually not. If it does, you did it wrong. All right, so you can jump, you can run, you can... Sure. Climb a tree. All right, does climbing a tree wound you? Climb a tree and get splinters. Okay, so if this is the one that wounds us, right, say you are wounded. Now, the cheap, easy way here is just do another loop inside of here, right, and say, what do you want to do, right? So get a command is equal to an input of what do you want to do, and if command is equal to sleep, we'll say sleep and your splinters feel all better now. If it's not sleep, print you are too wounded to do that, please sleep first. Sure, and all of this is while command what? Because we want to keep this running, right? So we can say while command does not equal sleep. How about that? So if it's not sleep, we'll just tell them you're too wounded to do that. Sleep first. And then when the loop is done, they must have entered sleep, right? How about that? So climb a tree and get splinters. Okay, if command's not sleep, we know it's not sleep because it was just climb a tree. What do you want to do? I guess we need one more here. So if command does not equal sleep, then print you're too wounded to do that, please sleep first. It's a little ugly, but that's okay. Again, this is probably easier than dealing with a wounded status in the main menu and making sure that if we're wounded, we can't do these other things. This works, right? And then once they finally sleep, you sleep and feel all better. All right, so we climbed a tree. Else if command, so you can run, you can jump, you can climb a tree, you can, what's our other action? Kick a tree, okay? You kick the tree that gave you splinters. You kick the tree. Or tree. Sure, why not? Oh, there's a parenthesis. Okay? If it's not one of those commands, and it's not this, what should we do? Right, help was supposed to be valid. We could check to see if it's help, but really, if it's not valid, we need to display help anyways. How about just else? We tell them you can go north, go east, go south, go west, jump, run, climb a tree, or kick a tree. Right? That's like the help. Okay? Now, we never really tracked the number of turns, right? So I think the easy way to do this here, take number of turns plus 1 here, right? No matter what they enter, we'll add 1. And then if it wasn't one of those recognized ones, we can take that one away. Right? That one didn't count. Because otherwise, you need to add 1 inside of every command. And I don't want to have to write that 8 times. Right? If I have the same code twice, I'm going to feel bad about myself. Right? So this is, again, the shortcut approach for that. We'll just say, okay, if it wasn't valid, then we'll do that. Okay, so we got actions, we got navigations, we get wounded, we can only sleep. Same response, 4 actions, help, secret escape word, display the help text. All right, so when they get out of the loop, once they give me exit, then we'll say You made it out of the terrible game. And we can do this as like a formatted string, number of turns, right? Because the only time we get down here is when the command is exit. Now, if we enter exit though, we're going to print out help one last time, right? So maybe we also want to check for if the command is exit. Just we don't do anything. So this you probably haven't seen before. Pass is the shortcut for just do nothing here. Or you can just have like x equals 10 and like we'll never use it again. If you don't have a line of code here, it doesn't understand an else here because it gets really confused. So the right way to do that is to put in the word pass. The other way to do it is just put anything in here, right? It doesn't really matter here. Do nothing in this block. That's all. Otherwise, we're going to print out. It's not the worst thing. If you printed help again, that's perfectly fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that. If we can avoid it, we can avoid it, right? Should we try it? Play our game? It's going to be a lot of fun. What do you want to do? Should we like tell them welcome to the game first, maybe? To our terrible game. It's not Zork, but it's fun. There we go. There, welcome to our terrible game. What do you want to do? Run. You run. Climb a tree. All right. You climb a tree and get splinters. You are wounded. What do you want to do? Something else. You're too wounded to do that. You're too wounded. Exit. Too wounded to do that. Please sleep first. Okay, I guess we have to sleep. You sleep and your splinters feel better now. What do you want to do? You made it out of the terrible game in 3 turns. 3 seem right? So run, climb a tree. Oh, it did count exit, didn't it? Maybe that wasn't a third turn. So maybe that's what we could do here instead of pass. We could take our number of turns, -1. Maybe that'll work. That was only 2 turns, right? Or maybe, do we ever count sleep? Like, sleep is a turn, right? Should we count this as another turn? I guess sleeping counts as a turn, right? I don't know. If it did or not, that's okay. However you want to count that, so I'm all right with. All right, and that's our terrible text-based adventure game.
When I included mine, I put each command with the same response. So literally, if you ran, you jumped, or anything, I just said you're in an empty space.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that'll work. You just spit back out the command. Okay, sure. That's not much of a story, but this isn't either, and that's okay. We're not storytellers. It's actually interesting. There's a game company in Plymouth that had a position they titled storyteller. Like the whole role was doing story games. I thought it was an interesting way to title that. Oh, Kylie, I'm sorry, I missed you suggesting sing. But why would the help screen display once exit's entered if the while loop is only when the command is not exit? Because we start here at the top with what do you want to do with the command. So if I don't check for exit here, it's not one of my kick, sleep, run, jump, hide. So exit would fall into this else bucket otherwise. So I wanted to add it in just to avoid it. It's probably more work than it's worth. We can just leave it. That's fine. They say exit, we'll tell them you can do these things, and they get out of the game anyway. So that's probably more work than it needed to be. Okay, so that was the project. That was our terrible adventure game. Did you have anyone else play it? Like, was anyone brave enough to like, hey, so-and-so, will you try this for me? Play my game? Did you? How did it go?
I had my brother try it out.
Nice.
He was like, good job.
Awesome. I tried to have my kids play, and they like had no interest at all in this. The number guessing game, like guess a number 1 to 100, that they were all about. But this, like, hey, tell me what you want to do. Like, no, this is like, I want to go play Minecraft. Sure. It's much more interesting, I guess. But we shouldn't knock Minecraft too much. You can actually teach logic circuits in Minecraft, which is really cool using redstone. So if you go on and take 310, I think 310 is part of the program, isn't it? I don't remember if it is or not. It's like a low-level assembly programming class and logics and circuits and things. You can do all of that in Minecraft. It's the coolest thing. I showed my kids and they were not impressed. It's like, look, it's an AND circuit and an OR circuit. Nothing. I guess I'm just lame. It's hard to make like teenagers care though, right? It's true. It's true. Sorry, some of you might be teenagers. I'm just as lame to you then. It's okay. I've accepted that. All right, so that's the project. Let's go back to strings here. So the last couple things we wanted to do with strings, we didn't get to split and join. So if you have a string here, what split will let you do is break it into pieces, which is kind of helpful. So if I were to say, hey, we'll have names is an input of enter a bunch of names, comma separated. Separated. Okay, and I'll enter a bunch of names. Now, if I want to do something with that names variable, it's just a string to start. What we can do is we can break it into chunks based on any character we want. So comma is a pretty common character to use to break chunks up. So I could have a names, and now essentially you get a list here. I'm going to say names.split, and I'm going to say, hey, split on the comma character. So now if I print names list, it'll be a list of all the values separated by commas. So if we enter a bunch of names, comma separated, Eric, where's my tape? Eric, Jasmine, Joy, and Jeb, that's probably enough for now, right? They get turned into a list. That's a little small here. Now notice there's still some spacing issues though. We'll have to fix that in a little bit with these extra spaces here. But it takes the commas out of the string and it gives you everything in between when it finds what we call these delimiters, right? So wherever it finds the first one, you get that first chunk. The second chunk is everything until the next one, everything until the next one, everything until the next one. So as many values as we want to throw in here, if we comma separate them, we can get back out as a list really nice and easy, which is pretty fun. Now, they're not the prettiest, so if we want to go clean that up a little bit here, we can say for index in range, length of my names list. Right? If we want to modify the values, we need to be doing it by index. Right? We can't just use the simple for loop. We can't modify them here. But I can say my names list at index is equal to my names list at index dot strip. I think I mentioned this real briefly. Strip will take out all the white space, which didn't seem very useful until we've done something like split. So this will take out any leading or trailing spaces off the names list. So if we run this one here, enter a bunch of names, Eric and Jasmine and Joy and Deb. Right, the first version with the spaces, the second version without the spaces. We've stripped them out, which is pretty handy. So other things we can do with split, right? This is nice, like for comma separated things, you could just do space separators as well. If you just want to split on spaces, because not everyone likes to do commas. If you split on spaces, it kind of saves you that trouble as well, right? Because then you don't have to go trim anything out because the spaces will just get removed. So if we wanted to essentially do that again, we can have names is an input, enter names, space separations or something. Sure, why not? And then we could have a names list is names.split. Now split by default, if you don't give it anything, is going to split on white space. I think it's white space. I don't think it's just spaces, is it? Want the rest of the help? That's fine. We can look it up. I bet it tells me right here. That's what we can do. Split. Split. Doesn't tell me. Thought I had it in here. That's okay. Did it say it? Oh, yeah, you're using any white space. Thank you. It did say that. I don't know what I was looking for there. Yeah, any white space. So tabs, new line characters, those sorts of things. Now, we don't really get new lines, though, when we're doing input, because when you hit enter, it ends the input. So we don't have to worry about that right now. This will be more important later when we deal with files. When you open up a file and read it, right, there's going to be some new lines in there and all sorts of that fun stuff. But spaces work out pretty well if we just want to run this one. All right, so Eric, Jasmine, and Jeb, and Vivi. Oh, I missed Joy that time. It looked pretty nice. Now, the problem with space separation, though, is what if I wanted to enter full names? Right, what if I have Eric Chernesky and Bob Smith? Well, now they're separate because we said separate on spaces, right? It just, if there's a space there, it's going to split it. So it gets a little trickier if you want multi-word things when you're splitting. That's all. So just kind of depending on what you want to split. So other fun things, like if you wanted to split the path in a folder, you could do that. So it's really not the most interesting though. Split URLs on the slashes. You can split URLs on slashes. Yeah, that's splitting. So the opposite of splitting then is joining. Joining takes a list and puts it back together as a string with a given character. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense now, but if I have a list of names and I wanted to turn it back into a string, I could say, here's my names string is going to be, now you start with the character. So what do I want to put between everything in my list here? If we want to just have a space in between them, we can do that. If we want to have a comma and a space in between, I like commas and spaces. We say dot join. So the string dot join, what? The names list. And then we can print the name string. So this takes a comma and a space, anything you put in front here, and puts it in between every item in a list. So you give it some list here, and we're just going to join it all together as one big ugly string. Right? I could have 100 names in here. I could have 2 names in here. Right? It doesn't really care. It will put the comma and the space in between them all. So if we do Eric and Jasmine and Jeb and Vivi, I missed Joy again. Right? It was a list. Now it puts it back together, comma separated, because we had a comma and a space, which is kind of nice. So like if you're asking a user like, hey, enter all of your receipts, I think we did one of those examples, just totally up the receipts. We could add them all to a list, and then we could print it out in some nice kind of format if we wanted. Yeah, right. Which is fun. So lots of things you can do joining lists back together. So you can take strings apart with split, and you can put strings together with join. Going from strings to lists or lists to strings. You can join, if you know their username and their domain, you can join them back together. Sure. Right. I think they're missing the .com though, right? But okay. Right. If you have your list of URL components here, you could join them back together. Sure. Right. Turn it back together. And these aren't the most interesting, but kind of you might want to use them together. So this is changing the separators here for file paths. That's not all that interesting. Finding URLs, redirecting you places. That's other splits and joins. Splitting phone numbers might be fun, right? Get the area code out, or you want to find just the 3-digit code here. Area codes used to be more interesting back before people took their phone numbers with them everywhere. Like if you got a call from a 248 number, you pretty much knew what area of the country they were in. Now it doesn't work like that, but that's okay. So looking at just a list of phone numbers of your customers, you kind of quickly see, hey, where do all my customers live? If you don't have their addresses. Can't really do that anymore though, because we'll keep their phone numbers. Which is weird, like used to move to a new house and have a new phone number. Like you'd have to tell everyone, hey, I have a new phone number. It was a weird time. It's a weird time. I don't know. I've had the same phone number, my same cell phone number since I was 16. I don't know. Like never had to change. Anyway, so splits and joins, different things we can do with the strings. There are a lot of specialty cases, and then when we look at lists next week, you're going to see people like doing all of this stuff in a single line, and it's crazy. Because someone had the idea that it's nice to be able to do things in less code, which is nice, right? We're lazy people. We don't want to do more work than we need to, but sometimes it's really hard to read some of that stuff. But as we start dealing with files, we'll get into files later. Being able to split individual lines of a file is huge. You can have a bunch of data on one line, split it all up, and now I've got all my pieces here. We're dealing with inputs. If you want someone to input multiple values at once, they can space separate them, comma separate them, right? We can take all their values and pull them back out. And I'll have the first thing they entered, the second thing they entered, the third thing they entered, that way. No, we could do all of this the hard way if we wanted. Right? We know how to find the index of a character, and we know how to take substrings. Right? We could write our own split method function if we wanted to. It's just kind of messy, right, to do it that way because it's already done. But that sort of thing we could say, hey, give me the character you want to split on. Right? So we can even ask them, right? So this is the character split on is an input of character split on, and then we can get a sentence, an input, a sentence, split, and then we need to start making chunks. So we'll have a chunks list here, sentence, and then we'll have like what is the index of character to split. Sure, starts as my sentence dot find, and we want to find the character to split on. Right, and while that index of the character to split is greater than 0 or equal to 0, right, because we get negative when we go and find something. Right, if it's not found in the string, we get the -1. We'll go find where it is. So let's go figure out where we need to go chunk. So if we're going to take our chunks now, we can append a slice. So we're going to slice from the index of the character, the sentence. We're going to slice it from, 0 is going to work for now, but we need like a previous value here. So we probably need the last split index, start at 0. So if we start at the last split index and we go up to the index of the character to split on, we can grab a slice of that string. Right? Start at wherever 0 to start, up to, but not including that character. Let's go grab it. Okay, we'll append that to our chunks. Then we'll take our last split index and we'll say, okay, the last place we split was here. Okay, now we need to go find the next one. Right? Remember with find, you can give it a, which one was it here? So find. I don't remember what order it was in. Find. The find. Find what value at what starting index. So we'll find the character split on from the last split index plus 1. Right? 1 past that. Because I already found that one. Show me which one's next. If it's greater than 0, we'll go take another chunk. If it's not, then we're done. Right? We found our chunks. So if we didn't find it at all, we just have to give them back the entire thing. Right? So we can do one last little check here. We can say, hey, if the length of my chunks is equal to 0, let's take chunks and we'll append the sentence. Right? You didn't have a character to split. We'll just the entire thing. And then we can print chunks. Right? So if we didn't split at all, right? You said, hey, split on a comma, and there are no commas in that sentence. There's nothing to split. Right? So this is the split the hard way. Splitting the hard way. So you can see why using just dot split is a little nicer here. But it does the same idea. Right? We're going to work on that same thing. Now, the other piece we're missing here is that if our character to split is more than one character, right? If we want to split on a comma and a space, you can split on multiple, like it'll take out the entire chunk of it here. Ours doesn't do that. We'd have to add the length of that character to split on. I guess we could do that, plus the length of character to split on. Right? Because if you're splitting on two characters, like, hey, find comma and a space, we can do that. All right, should we see if this works? Our own split. All right, what character should we split on? What's a fun character? We're going to do spaces? Sure, we'll do spaces. Did I get it? Space. All right, what's the sentence we want to split? This is a terrible game. We get, this is a terrible, uh-oh. We lost the last chunk. Right, we didn't get the last one. We lost game here. Right? When we looked for the next character to split, there wasn't one, so the loop stopped. That's not what we want. So I think what we can do then is we can instead, when this is done, take chunks. And we can append my sentence from the last split index to the end. Right? Grab the last. And now this also gets me the case now if we didn't split at all. Right? If the last split index was 0, if we never split anything, we'll get the whole sentence back out. This ought to work a little nicer. Let's try it. So let's run selected. There we go. So it's split on a space. This is a terrible game. And we get, this is a terrible game. Uh-oh, there's spaces here, though. Why are we getting spaces in here? Can we not? Oh, I can't spell sentence either. Sentence. So when we're taking our slice, we said the last split index. Oh, we didn't add 1 to that. That's what we had to do. Right? Take the last index plus 1. We want to move on one more. Okay, so yeah, this one should be this one. Here we go. Plus the length. That'll be the next location that we're starting with. Right? We adjusted it for doing our lookups, but we didn't adjust it for grabbing those chunks. Was the problem. Let's try that one more time. All of this to write our own split here. All right, so stop space. This is a terrible game. Oh, I think I had 2 spaces in there. Let me try that one more time. No, just this one. Space. This is a terrible game. There we go. All right, now we're split without all the extra spaces. We wrote our own split. Does that make what split's doing make a little more sense, though? Right, it's just finding those chunks, grabbing the chunks, putting them here. Right, same idea with join. We're just going through each one and sticking those characters in between them all. The only thing it does is it doesn't add it at the last one. So a lot of times if we do our own simple loop, like if we said for item in, some, what do we have? We'll just do chunks. We'll put it back into that list here. If we have a string result, starts off as nothing, we're going to take our string result, we'll add in the item, and then we'll add comma and a space. If we're going to join those back together, the last one here will have that last bit when we put them back together here. So if we print our string results, right, we'll put it back together as a string. Let's just do space separate, right? We'll just space separate them here. If we run this one, split on a space. Oh, where's it going? Run the selected. I gotta stop it first, right? Run selected. Uh-oh. Name? Line 90? I didn't tell it to run line 90. What's it going? Okay, character split up. Space. This is a terrible game. This is a terrible game. I put it back together, but there is this trailing space here. I can highlight it. So the last thing we'd have to do then in our string result, say string result equals string result sliced from the beginning to, we want the length of, oh, this was space here that we're joining on, times -1. Remember, you can give negative indexes here. So this will skip the last one character or two, or I mean, the length of that, I guess. Let's put that back together. So this is a character to join with. There we go. That'll be a little prettier. So whatever character we're joining with, whether or not it's 1 character or 2 characters or 3 characters long, we'll stop short of that. We'll trim it back out at the end, right? Jump back that many characters when we do our split. So -1, right? Take everything but the last one. See if that one works. Then, why are you so confused, Python? Just run that one. No, okay. One more time, maybe. Nope. I think it's upset with me. Oh, I wasn't going far enough. Nope, that was me. My error. Character to split on. Space. This is a terrible game. Put back together now, and you'll notice there's no last space character to highlight here. Right, we trimmed it out. It's gone. So doing our own splits and joins. Again, the built-in ones are easier. When we do files, this will be a lot nicer. We can split files and join files and put stuff back together and have some nice outputs. Without the other stuff, and asking people to enter values is not the most interesting. Just to split them all. Okay. I guess one nice thing we could do if people are entering numeric values, it's pretty nice to be able to split it. Right. So like if we wanted to enter a bunch of scores for a game, like 10 and 12 and 13, we can do them all in one line instead of one score per line. I have to enter a bunch, but then you could split that back out, and then each one of those you could turn into an integer. When you put a space in, Python gets really confused if you ask for integers. Okay. Should we talk about the next project? Awesome. That's the exciting stuff, right? So let's go back here. And so we've got 2 more weeks for this one, right? If I remember correctly. Yep, sweet. So we're going to get our next project on functions and strings. Here will be due 2 more weeks. That's the 26th, right? All right. So let's go use another classroom link here real quick. Come on, sign in. 501. Use our template. Oops, too many L's. That's 2 weeks then at 12:30. Right, we can go over the answer in class. This one's probably about 15 points here. That we don't get to forget anything. Right? We still have to use all the things we've done before. We're going to use loops forever. Right? We're going to use the if and else and all that sort of stuff forever. So the projects are going to be worth more points as we go. I think I mentioned that. And that's not a surprise, I hope. Please submit the URL to your repository. All right. So we're going to build a hangman game using functions. Now, I'm well aware if you go and Google Python Hangman, you'll find solutions. Okay, I get it. But we're going to build it in a very specific way using functions. Because we want to practice using functions and practice using strings. So that's the goal. So like actually knowing how to play the game of Hangman is not the hard part here. Right? The hard part here is putting it all together in this specific fashion so we can practice these things. Okay? Is that okay? All right, so I think there's it's the 1,000 common words. Yeah, 1,000 common English, 1,000 common English words. Grab all these here. Where's the list? I don't want that. What? That's a terrible list. Vocabulary first. Is this a better list? I want something I can copy paste. Okay, this I can probably copy paste. Got some numbers in there, but that's okay. Make it work. All right. All right. So we throw. Oh, look at that! It did copy paste nice. Except for these V things. So let me find and replace on those V's. We don't want to know if it's a verb or not. We don't care. Right? Is that it in there? All right, verbs and nouns we'll replace. Get rid of all those. Okay, now does that look like adjectives? Come on. Your accept. Okay, sure. Okay, noun and adjectives we don't want. Yesterday, okay, so we must have just missed some new lines in there, right? We've seen that a few times. All right, there we go. So now we have a list. Not quite 1,000, but sure, it's probably close enough. So let's go put this into a nice list here. So I want end of the line here. Let's replace that with comma and a space. Oh, we need a quote too. Now, before we do that, I want to replace the start of the line here with a quote. And then the end of the line here, let's replace with a quote and a comma and a space. And then let's replace new lines here with nothing. There we go. All right, so we have a nice, long, ugly string here. Let's start a new project. Project 2. So here's our word list. Word list. Come on. And let's throw all that in a list. Oh, there we go. All right. So here's our random word list for Hangman. 3-letter words in Hangman are really hard, but that's okay. We don't care. It's no biggie here. Okay. So we're going to start with a word list here, and we are going to write. So write a function. Get random word that returns random word from the word list. Word list. Okay. So we got a random word. We got it out. Then we're going to write a function for display the hidden word. You need to give it 2 things to display the hidden word. You need to give it the hidden word, right? And you need to give it the letters guessed. Guessed. Right? So when we're displaying the hidden word, it's a blank if you've not guessed the letter, or it's the letter if you have guessed the letter. Right? Prints on one line, blank, haven't guessed the letter, or the letter if you have guessed it. Right? So we're doing something probably with a loop, right? And either printing out the letter or a space. The underscore character is really nice for a space. That's the shift dash. It's an underscore. It makes for a really nice space. Okay. That's our display hidden word. And I'm going to write a function. Function get letter guess. Now we're going to tell it the letters guessed here when we give it this function, because it's not going to allow the user to guess a letter they have already guessed. Right? So this idea that if you've already guessed a letter, you can't guess it again. So the get letter guess needs to be doing that validation for us. Give me a letter to guess. If you've already guessed it, don't take it. And then also ensure the guess is only a single letter. No doubling up, right? And when you get inputs, you can enter anything you want. We need to make sure we're only entering one letter, right? One letter at a time here. Okay, that's our get letter guess function. That's our display hidden word, and then we'll write a function like if the user's guessed it right, as word then guessed. Sure, right? And this will be, you need the hidden word and you need the letters guessed. So we're going to return true if the word has been guessed. Now, you don't have to guess the letters in order, right? So you can't just say, hey, the letters guessed match the hidden word, right? Because I don't have to play hangman in order. I can guess the last letter and then a middle letter and then another letter, that sort of thing. Or if the word has the same letter more than once, right? You don't have to guess it twice. You just guess the letter one time. Right? So like a lot of little things kind of go into this here, right? This then returns the letter guessed. So the display hidden word doesn't return any values. It just prints, right? The get random word returns something. The get letter guess returns something. The has hidden word by guess returns something. This just returns a true or false, right? And then we're going to write a function print gallows given the number of incorrect guesses. Now, I'm not the best artist here, but I can print out a gallows without too much trouble. I don't know if we saw this triple string here. These ring any bells? These are like multi-line strings. So this works out nice for this here. And there's lots of options for how you want to do the gallows, but yeah, you know, we can make it work. So I can line up nice. That's fine. So we want like some straight lines here along the side, and then like here's the platform that they're on, and then here's that little part here, and then you hang down from this part, and then maybe we have their head, and then maybe we have an arm. Where'd it go? That arm, and then maybe we have that arm. No, that's not, like those aren't work. We'll just do straight arms. Straight arms. There's their body. There's a straight arm. There we go. We'll do dashes for the legs, and then you've got a leg that way and a leg that way, right? There. And if we tell it it's a raw string, do we talk about raw strings? Right, we just literally take everything in here. There's no escape characters. If you don't do that, you need 2 slashes to say, hey, I really want the slash, because that's our escape character, usually. So either way, perfectly fine. So here's our nice little gallows. Maybe that's just regular dashes, right? So print gallows, given the number of incorrect guesses, will print either an empty gallows or with all the body parts, right? This is 1 guess wrong, 2 guesses wrong, 3 guesses wrong, 4 guesses wrong, 5 guesses wrong, 6 guesses wrong, and you've hung the man. Or hanged, right? English is weird. I don't know why that's a thing. So, right, depending on the number of guesses, you print the right number of body parts in your gallows. So if you want to use mine, great. If you want to come up with your own pretty gallows because you're a better artist, great. Any way you want to go about it, it's perfectly fine. Here, okay? That's our print gallows given the number of incorrect guesses, right? It's the gallows with the correct number of body parts. Why do we teach this game to children? This like, why is this a kids game? Hey, this guy dies because you guessed wrong. You suck. Like, I don't know. We do some weird stuff, I guess. Yeah, they do. And it's a good game to practice spelling, right? I, as you might imagine, I was a terrible person to play Hangman. Turns out the class would never allow me to be the person doing the hidden word because I can never remember how to spell it. And they guess a letter, be like, nope, not there. And then later on, I'd write the word out and it was in there. Like, oh man, spelling's hard. All right, so let's start Gallows. And so the game loops until the user wants to stop playing. Just a basic play again loop like we've done before. Just keep on going until you're done. And then you win or lose, right? Display. I guess we don't. We can do a function for that, right? If we've guessed the hidden word or we've lost, function has person been hanged. There we go. Given the number of incorrect guesses. Correct guesses turns true or false, right? This sort of idea. So we can figure out whether or not we're there. And then we loop until we either have hanged the person or we guessed the hidden word, right? We can kind of use those functions together. Either one of them being true means the game's over. Either you guessed it or you hanged the guy, right? So in the loop that plays the game, we can just use those functions directly. So it's sort of taking this big problem and breaking it down into smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller steps, right? Into lots of little steps here for solving these. Does that sound okay? All right, awesome. So again, I know you can go find solutions, but they're probably not going to have these exact same functions. They might have some of them actually. I don't even know. Like I've looked at a couple, but we want to do these very specifically with some of these functions for practice. Okay. All right. Awesome. We'll do that. Yeah, sounds good. So that's what we've got going on for the next 2 weeks here as we start picking up some more material as well. So next week we're going to get into lists and dictionaries, some more advanced stuff with lists and dictionaries. It's a lot of fun, all chapter 8 here. So a lot of things we can do with them. We'll spend a decent amount of time working on those Monday and then in lab and then finish up whatever they get to on Wednesday. And then classes is a really big topic. We'll spend a lot of time on classes. And then we'll get into our last project, which will be on classes. So we'll use the list dictionaries and classes for project 3. The midterm, we've got review and the midterm itself that week. I'm actually out of town this week and I get to make the schedule. So hopefully that works out pretty well. So I will post the midterm review on Monday and then I'll open up the midterm on Monday afternoon. Or Wednesday, I don't know. Wednesday? This probably should be enough time. It's made so that you could sit and take it in an hour and 15 minutes. But I think timing people is awful and giving closed book tests is awful. So it'll just be on Canvas. It'll be open and you'll have up until next Monday, 11/7 to turn it in. So you'll have from Wednesday, 11/2 to Monday, 11/7. Just like the quizzes, start it, stop it, come back to it anytime you want. Which reminds me, I need to post the quiz for strings now. Let me post the strings quiz. Um, 3 weeks, right? All right, because we're week 7 right now, so we're the 12th. 1, 2, yeah, 3 weeks. Yeah, I'll open on 11/12. No, yeah, 11/2. 11/2. So that Monday I won't be here. So that whole Monday time is for you folks to practice with the practice midterm. So no lab that day either. The midterm is half quiz questions and half write a small bit of code to do something. It's not long because it's made so we could do it in class. So take your lab time, work on those programming questions, take the class time, work on the quiz questions, those sorts of things. And we should be in pretty good shape. And then we'll come back, finish up project 3. That one won't be due until the 14th we have a little extra time on that, and we'll start the final project November 14th. We have a month to get that one done, due, and we're going to present them on December 14th in lieu of a final exam. Because really the goal of this is, can you learn how to code, not can you pass a test. So you'll present your final projects in that 3-hour exam block that we have. Ideally, you do them in pairs. I don't like to force group work if it's not like a course outcome that you have worked in groups. Generally, you get a better product when you work in pairs, but it's a lot of extra work to have to deal with someone else. So if you do it individually or you do it in pairs, you do the same project, because pairs have the more work of coordinating and collaborating and figuring out who's doing what part and working together, where the individual, you don't have the extra work, but you have to do the whole project yourself. So we'll talk about that when we get to November 14th, which is a month from now, right? A month and 2 days. So we are halfway through the semester now at week 7, believe it or not, staring down midterm and final project coming up. Okay. It's been fun. Sorry, I'm behind on grading. My daughter being sick was not helpful for that. So I'll be getting caught back up this next week or so, and should be able to get project in for you. So sorry for the delay there. But let me know if you have any questions. If not, I will see you folks on Monday. Enjoy the last bit of nice weather.